The Germanic Slingers are the best skirmishers that no one seems to be using, at least no one that I play, and I think it's a bit strange because they are deceptively effective skirmishers, and the reason why is not because of their offensive capabilities, because they are pretty crappy with 20 missile damage and only 4 armor piercing. Their strength lies in their armor and their shields. And 30 armor is nothing great, but it's still more than most skirmishers of their price. The important thing is that their shields allow them to block 60% of incoming missiles. To put that in perspective, the Balearic Slingers block 25% of incoming missiles. So these guys block more than 2 times the amount of missiles that the Balearic Slingers block. If the missiles get through the 60%, so 40% of the missiles that get through are still going to have a pretty hefty chance of having its base damage reduced by having 30. So essentially, against standard arrows, like the arrows from these Cimbri bowwomen with 35 missile damage, 4 armor penetration is always going to be applied, but almost all of the base damage, so 31 base damage, will have a chance of being almost completely blocked, and almost certainly some of it will be reduced at least. What that means in practice is that these guys are going to be able to trade fire for a long time with enemy skirmishers, and even though they are outmatched in terms of quality, because they have the 60% chance and not 20, 25 or 30, they are going to be able to eventually destroy skirmishers that cost much more than they do. So Swebi desperately needs skirmishing defense, desperately needs to take care of enemy skirmishers for the late game. These guys can be extremely effective in doing so. I mostly see people use the Cimbri bowwomen and to some extent the Germanic skirmishers, and they are pretty great units as well. But if you need long range firepower, and if you need staying power, because the Cimbri bowwomen don't have staying power at all, then these guys are very effective. Let's just see what they can do against the units of mercenary Balearic Slingers. These units cost less than the Balearic Slingers, and of course they have twice the amount of ammunition. The Balearic Slingers have the quick reload ability. These units don't have any abilities, but their shields are damn amazing. Look at how well they are holding up, even when they are blobbed like this. Look at how well they are holding up to this elite slinger fire. And they have pretty soon destroyed the Balearic Slinger unit. And you can say what you want about the AI unit, but how the AI uses its units. But tell me how the AI could have done that significantly differently, other than spreading out and getting the first volley off. I lost 17 of my Germanic Slingers and killed the entire unit of mercenary Balearic Slingers. So that was against the best slinger unit in the game. Now let's test them out against the best archer unit in the game. And it used to be the Cretan archers. It's not anymore because the Cretan archers were ninja nerfed. Thanks for that, Creative Assembly. They had their shield value removed. And now the best archers come from Chimeria, so of course the best archers are in... This is kind of a trend with the Creative Assembly. They nerf existing units that people love, and then they buff new units in a DLC, of course. So the Chimeria heavy archers are the best archers. They have the best missile damage, they have the best range, and they have the best armor. They also have two-handed spears. So these guys are Cimbri bowwomen with more armor and more missile damage. Now, they also have precision shots, I believe. Yep, they do. Slingers! So we'll put 2 of our lowly Germanic Slingers up against the very elite Chimeria heavy archers. Now, Cretans do not like to exchange fire with these guys. Really, no archer units like to exchange fire with them. Most slinger units don't like to exchange fire with them because they have 47 missile damage when they use their precision shot. But that's not really going to help them much when 60% of their missiles are being blocked. And here you can see what happens when only 2 of these slinger units are firing at the Chimaera heavy archers. Now the Chimaera heavy archers are doing better than the Cretan, than the Balearic slingers did, because they just have so much missile damage. But still, you can see which way this is heading. The Chimaera heavy archers are going to be destroyed by far less than their own cost in Germanic Slingers. So, pretty decent stuff. But let's say you come up against slingers of... won't even test against the cheapest slingers in the game, because they are... they lose, and they lose poorly. But let's just see how they do against slingers, 2 mid-tier slingers that are more expensive, so 2 Eastern slingers. Because usually if you come up against a skirmish heavy army, then you usually won't have the lowest tier units. You might have 6 mid-tier slingers for Pontus, or 6 archers. So we'll just see how these guys do against the Eastern slingers. And the Eastern slingers have more missile damage, of course. They have more armor penetration. They're just better offensively. And I have no idea why they are running towards me like this. It looks like we're going to have a point-blank exchange. And yeah, the AI just shows how very competent it can be at times. Maybe it tried to get in range of my Noble Riders, but yeah. 2 of these units are going to be able to do a lot of damage to the Eastern slingers, and they tried to get into my general there. So didn't really get to see that. But okay, we can test instead of I can just show you what happens if I take one of these, and that should be a bit more easy for the AI to handle. So 1 against 1, 1v1 on Nemetusena. That's like the come at me bro of Total War 2. 1v1 on Nemetusena. So yeah, now they're firing at my general as well. So they really want to take out my general. I don't blame them, but it's going to get them missiles in the face here. So maybe that doesn't happen if... Anyway, the point is, these guys will beat even the Eastern slingers matched for unit for unit. So I wasn't really able to show you that because the AI is stupid, but they will do it. So the point is that these guys, although they have pretty crappy missile damage, they are going to soak up a ton of enemy fire. And that can enable you to deplete the enemy skirmishing units of their ammunition, which can be very useful in itself. If enemy skirmishers trade with these guys, they're going to waste a lot of their shots, and they will take damage, especially the units that have, the archer units that don't have shields. They are going to take 4 armor penetration damage at least for each successful hit. And there are going to be a lot of slingshot flying their way if you have a bunch of these guys for ranged combat. So give them a try. I think you'll like them a lot. I've taken down armored Indian war elephants with these guys. I've taken down scythe chariots, pikemen. They usually allow me to win the skirmishing engagement. The only challenge in using them, I find, is that it's going to be very difficult to secure a cavalry advantage as the Swebi. So you're going to have to rely on your spear wall units and your other spears to keep away and dissuade enemy cavalry. But a fun build I've been experimenting with, just to show you, and keep in mind this is not for competitive play. This is just I do like to play competitively, but the main reason why I play this game is because I have a lot of fun doing so. And in order to keep it fresh and in order to keep it interesting, finding out new things about the game and trying them is pretty key to that, although I might not find the most overpowered best builds. I like to find builds that are fun to play with and that can do unexpected things. So that is kind of the focus here. Now in this build, let's see, and I can bring another spear levy and I can give them some chevrons. So this build doesn't have any melee cavalry. It's very heavy on the spears with 6 spears, very good spear walls. And it's going to deploy, I can just show you the deployment as well, because it's fairly simple stuff. So I've been having a lot of success in quick battles, of course, with with this build, and it can take on most builds that don't expect Swaby to go this skirmish heavy. So we're going to, this is a nice little trick you can use to order your lines before the battle. I'm sure a lot of you know about it, but maybe some of you don't. So you're going to put the spear walls on each flank like this. Then you can go, depending on what you're facing. If you're facing infantry rush, if there aren't any elephants or chariots on the field, you can go 3 or 4 ranks deep. You can go a bit deeper than that if there are elephants and chariots and you want to have a more narrow formation. You're going to put your slingers behind, spear levy in the center behind the slingers. And these guys can either go, depending on what you see from your enemy, these guys can either go on the left hand side to get shots in on the unshielded enemy side, or they can just be here to dissuade enemy skirmishers. And this is a pretty flexible formation where you can pull off spear units in order to protect from cavalry. You can use these guys to harass incoming enemy cavalry. You can even charge incoming enemy cavalry in order to buy your spears more time to get there, and you have pretty decent holding power in your infantry. But the sort of the trump card in this battle is being able to draw a massive amount of missiles with these Germanic Slingers, and also most likely being able to win the skirmish fight if you play it well. So although these guys have a very low amount of damage, focusing fire with them is going to destroy units very, very quickly because there are so many projectiles incoming. Even from the front, these Pontic swords are now they're turning around, so that's a GG for them. From the front, even against enemy key units, these slingers can do a massive amount of damage, and they can kind of ignore being fired upon as well. So if the enemy wants to fire at these guys, great, they're going to be able to take it all day. So Swaby is a pretty amazing faction to because it's very fun. It's not the powerhouse it was, but it's very, very fun. If you're going to use these guys and you want to draw out as many enemy missiles as possible, it's a good idea to keep a general or unit that has Inspire nearby, so they don't rout off the field too quickly with their 25 base morale. But they should get the better of most skirmishing engagements, just because they have that 60% chance of deflecting enemy missiles. And then they have the 30 armour that is going to further reduce base damage against them. So these guys are absolute beasts in skirmishing. One downside to them is that because they have such a low amount of damage per volley or per missile, they need a lot of time in order to work effectively. So they're going to take fire for a long time, but they need to fire for a long time in order to do the damage. So these guys can keep chucking throughout the game and be very, very useful in the late game. It won't be easy to destroy them other than by going in and taking them on in melee, and then you can sort of set it up to make the enemy sacrifice important cavalry units to get at your skirmishers, and you're going to keep your spears in close support, you're going to keep your scout riders in close support, and you're going to make the enemy pay dearly for each of these guys he takes out. So that's it for the Germanic Slingers. I'll upload a battle afterwards where I show where I use the Germanic Slingers as well. Try these guys if you're going to try Swaby. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how effective they can be. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the battlefield.